CEO denied withdrawal at her own bank. She makes them regret it instantly. Grand Horizon Bank, which is regarded as one of the most significant financial organizations in the city, was experiencing a hectic day. The air was filled with the sound of clicking keyboards. Customers entered and exited the bank, and bank tellers worked hard behind the counters. A lady dressed in a sophisticated navy blue suit entered the building as she was surrounded by a throng. It was clear that she was self-assured, as seen by the poised manner in which she carried herself. Who is she exactly? Evelyn Carter is a self-made millionaire, the chief executive officer of Horizon Financial Group, and the owner of the silent majority of shareholders of Grand Horizon Bank. On the other hand, she was not present as the boss today. She was only a client of the business. When Evelyn approached the counter, she saw a young bank teller called Brian standing there. Brian was a pompous individual. Before welcoming her with a bored grimace, he scarcely seemed to glance up from his computer. He said, "How can I help you?" without making any effort to conceal his lack of interest in the situation. The response that Evelyn gave was, "I need to make a withdrawal," and she slipped over her identification and account information. Just as he read her name, Brian took a quick peek at the paperwork, and his countenance changed significantly. The quantity of cash that was requested to be withdrawn, which was $500,000, drew his eye, even if he did not recognize herself. An expression of sneer appeared on his lips. He stated it in a dismissive manner. "I'm sorry, but that's not possible." Evelyn made a raised eyebrow gesture. "Excuse me, the policy that we have in place does not permit withdrawals of such a significant amount without prior notification." After that, he said, giggling to himself under his breath, "You'll have to come back another day if you even have that kind of money." A handful of the customers turned their heads, perceiving that something was out of the ordinary. Because of her many years of expertise in the corporate world, Evelyn maintained her composure by being cool. "The bank's capacity to conduct this transaction is something that I am fully aware of, but I am aware of the rules. I am permitted to withdraw this amount from this account, which is mine." That was Brian's sneer. "It is not possible for you to walk in here and demand $500,000 just because you are dressed in a fashionable manner, woman. Why don't you go to one of those private banks if you already have so much wealth?" The resolve in Evelyn's eyes deepened. Despite the fact that she was the owner of this bank, she was being treated like an outsider. It was a deep breath that she took. "You are correct." "What? You are not going to complete my transaction?" With a sneer on his face, Brian leaned forward. "Yes, you are correct. My guess is that you don't even have that much money in your possession." The atmosphere was filled with a moment of quiet. Other workers took a quick look at the predicament, but none of them moved to intervene. Then Evelyn did something that was very unexpected. She took out her phone and dialed the number she needed to reach. "Mr. Langston, I am in need of your assistance at Grand Horizon Bank, and now Jonathan Langston, the manager of the bank, was in his office located on the upper floor when he heard a buzzing sound from his phone the minute he recognized Evelyn's name. A pale complexion appeared on his face. He rushed out of his office, almost causing his helper to fall over because of his haste. During this time, Brian continued to fold his arms. Using the phrase, "calling your husband to send you money," he made fun of her. With a grin that was icy and knowing, Evelyn smiled. Jonathan Langston, who was sweating, ran into the lobby 1 minute after the last one. "Miss Carter." His eyes were wide with fear as he sputtered, "I wasn't expecting you today." The whole bank fell into complete silence. It was Brian's frown. "Wait, Miss Carter." A sudden turn was made by Jonathan in his direction. "Brian, what did you just do?" Brian, who was now perplexed, pointed his finger at Evelyn. She was demanding an impossible withdrawal, so I denied her. This caused Jonathan to visibly cringe. As he shifted his attention back to Evelyn, his voice was shaking. "Please, Miss Carter, I sincerely sorry for any trouble this may have caused. Without a doubt, we are able to quickly handle your transaction." There was a hand raised by Evelyn. "It is not necessary, Mr. Langston. Taking the money out of the account is no longer something that interests me. However, I am interested in something else at the moment." It was Brian that she turned to. "You're fired." The grin that Brian had disappeared. You know? Please don't try to do that." A small inward inclination was made by Evelyn. "I am able to do so, in fact. It is my bank that I own." The foyer was filled with gasps from everyone. Customers murmured behind their hands, workers were surprised, and Brian's complexion became eerie and pallid. A prompt intervention was made by Jonathan. "Evelyn Carter, please introduce yourself to Brian." President and Chief Executive Officer of Horizon Financial Group, the parent business that controls Grand Horizon Bank. There was a close call between Brian's knees. "Wait, you're my boss?" Evelyn positioned her arms in a cross. "Oh no, but not anymore." Jonathan was the one she went to. "A comprehensive assessment of the manner in which consumers are handled in this location is what I need. Should this be the way that my bank functions, I demand that urgent changes be made. Make sure that each and every worker is aware of what it means to represent the company with professionalism and due regard. There will be other terminations and terminations of employment if I return and witness anything similar to this again." Exasperatedly, Jonathan nodded his head. "As you want, ma'am. Just this moment." Before heading in the direction of the exit, Evelyn gave Brian, who was standing absolutely still and unable to believe what was happening, one last glance. Customers were heard whispering their adoration for her as she went out of the establishment, and workers were scrambling to adjust their attitudes. Her last call was to request a large funding boost for customer service training across all bank branches. This was the last thing she did before getting into her black luxury automobile. When it comes to Evelyn Carter's own bank, no one disrespects her and gets away with it. She was able to see the astonished faces through the glass windows of the bank, even as Evelyn's sleek black automobile drove away from the establishment. Spreading like wildfire was the news of what had taken place. An unpleasant bank teller was fired on the spot by an unknown CEO, and social media was buzzing with news about it within hours. When a customer who had been waiting in line tweeted, the story began to spread, first as rumors among the workers who had seen it, and then as a post that instantly went viral. Just now, a lady was refused the ability to withdraw money from the bank. She dismissed the person who had mistreated her, since it turned out that she was the owner of the business. A true and unrivaled legend. Evelyn Carter, the Chief Executive Officer of Horizon Financial Group, had just cleaned the home, and it wasn't long before people realized the truth for themselves. But for Evelyn, this was just the beginning of our journey together. As soon as she arrived back at her corporate office, she instructed her assistant to write a comprehensive report, including all of the customer complaints received from each Grand Horizon Bank branch. The results obtained? It was observed that the scores for customer service had significantly decreased, and there were increasing reports of personnel dismissing or mistreating consumers. Branch managers have chosen to disregard concerns in favor of concentrating only on sales figures. This turned out to be more than just a one-time occurrence. It was an issue with the whole system. In the event of an unexpected emergency, Evelyn called an executive meeting. She entered the boardroom, and instantly, there was complete silence in the room. While sitting around the long glass table, a group of senior executives, the most of whom were middle-aged males dressed in fine suits, seemed unconcerned as they sipped on costly coffee. The head of retail banking, Richard Sterling, sat back in his chair with a smug grin on his face. He was one of the individuals. "Miss Carter, I assume this is about the little misunderstanding at the branch today?" he said with a dismissive tone. "It wasn't necessary for you to get there your own way. It would have been possible for us to manage it internally." The frigid gaze that Evelyn cast upon him immediately silenced him. "Have you dealt with it internally? Consider the fact that you have disregarded hundreds of complaints from customers." The report was carelessly thrown upon the table by her. "We are not talking about a single worker here. A culture of entitlement and carelessness exists in my bank, and this is the root of the problem." Another executive, Michael Tennyson, made an effort to diffuse the tension that was there. "Miss Carter, we assure you—" At that moment, Evelyn interrupted him by raising her hand. "It's enough. I am finished with making false promises. However, our frontline personnel treat clients as if they are a nuisance, despite the fact that this bank is meant to be established on trust. This can no longer be said." Her attention was drawn to Richard Sterling. "Effective immediately. You're fired." It seemed as if the room was filled with gasps. Beads of blood began to appear on Richard's face. "Is it an F-fire? You can't possibly be serious." The tone of Evelyn's voice was low yet authoritative. "It is imperative that I have leadership that is aware of the need of providing excellent customer service. For much too long, you have chosen to disregard their concerns. Put your belongings in order." As Richard stormed out of the room, she turned her attention to the other members of the board. "If any of you think this is unfair, feel free to join him." Not a sound. Nobody moved at all. When Evelyn was done dismissing inept executives, she did not stop there. Grand Horizon Bank's client experience was completely redesigned as a result of the introduction of Project Phoenix. "We have just implemented new staff training programs that emphasize the importance of respect, efficiency, and openness. There were unexpected inspections to the branch to ensure that the personnel were adhering to the established standards. There is a consumer feedback program that has actual penalties for complaints with genuine effects. Staff members who provided great service are eligible for performance-based incentives." For the purpose of setting an example, Evelyn went to a number of different locations over the course of the next several weeks, although not in her capacity as CEO, but rather as a regular customer. Almost immediately, workers discovered it is possible that any client may be the CEO in disguise. It is also important to note that every customer deserves to be treated like a VIP. Furthermore, what about Brian, the conceited bank teller? His dismissal was written about in the media. His career, which had previously shown great promise, was cut short before it had really started to take shape because other banks were hesitant to recruit him. On a certain day, he entered a Grand Horizon location that had just undergone renovations, although he was not working there as a client or patron. As soon as he seen the enhanced service, he came to the realization that his own conceit had caused him to lose his profession. Once a year had passed, Grand Horizon Bank had achieved unprecedented levels of expansion. Customer satisfaction saw a significant boost, leading to an increase in the stock value of the bank. A greater number of clients transferred their accounts from other companies. The following is a stunning message that Evelyn delivered when she was on stage at a convention for the industry. Numeric data is not the foundation of a bank. People are the foundation of it. As soon as you forget that, you have already done something wrong. An outpouring of applause came from the crowd. A former teller by the name of Brian was there among the audience, and he observed with a sense of shame. Moral of the story? Respect should be shown to all consumers, not only the affluent ones. Remember that you should never underestimate somebody since you do not know their genuine strength. Poor service might not only result in the loss of a client, but it can also be detrimental to a career.